What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another tier list. We're going to be looking into Fabio Paratici's reign at Tottenham, seeing as Paratici is all over social media, all over the news at the moment. He is potentially coming back. Nothing confirmed as of yet. So we're going to look back at his first stint at Spurs and see how he did, basically.
A lot of people very excited. So I thought we'd analyse kind of his signings and how we thought he did. Obviously, we did this tier list a few years ago, or about a year ago, 18 months ago. So it's interesting to see how our feelings have developed about certain signings.
Yeah, exactly. And do remember to smash that subscribe button, because only 40% of you, well, 40% of you watching this are not even subscribed. So all you have to do is just scroll down, smash that subscribe button if you do enjoy this video. And also go and follow us on social media platforms as well: TikTok, Instagram, X, and Facebook. But let's get into this tier list. So we've left out basically the last summer signing, the last summer transfer window, because Paratici was banned at that moment in time. So we've left out those players, and we've focused on 16 of the players that we did sign. What were the years?
He came summer 2021 and he was banned. He resigned April 2023.
Yeah. So it's all the signings from that time frame. The tiers that we're going to go to is flop to mid signing, solid signing to star signing, and we're going to start off with Clement Longley.
Yeah, I think we're going to put him in flop.
Yeah.
Kind of came in to be our left centre back under Conte and just wasn't really good enough to take us to the next level whatsoever. Had some decent performances, but by the end of it, you could just tell he wasn't good enough and he was making so many mistakes. Has kind of landed on his feet since then. He's starting week in, week out for Atletico Madrid at the moment, and obviously had that stint at Aston Villa, which wasn't particularly great, but don't think he's missed at Tottenham, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And you do remember, though, like, he scored that vital goal at Marseille in the Champions League, you know, big goal for us. But yeah, all in all, definitely a flop signing. In terms of next one, we got Fraser Forster. I'll probably just put him in mid-signing. I don't think he's been a flop. I think he's done kind of what it says on the tin. No one was expecting much from him. And yeah, he wasn't exactly shocking by all accounts, just a mid-signing.
Yeah, as a backup keeper, he's okay. I don't think he's you don't think he's great, but I don't think he's bad either. So I think mid-signing is probably fair. I think he gets a lot of criticism for that one penalty shootout against Fulham, which people still remember a lot. But I think when he's been called upon, by and large, he's been okay. But I think it's also very clear that when we had that big Vicario injury, you know, he's not really good enough to be number one for any prolonged period of time. Yeah, I think that's also clear. But I think as a number two, it's okay. It's a mid, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So Fraser Forster goes into mid. Next up is Ivan Perisic. This is an interesting one because I enjoyed his time at Spurs. I think when he got injured at the start of last season, we definitely missed him over the course of the campaign. I think I'm going to put Perisic in solid signing, you know.
Well, funny thing is, last time we put him in flop and nothing's changed since then.
I know, it's mad.
So nothing's really changed.
It's mad the way narratives change, isn't it?
He hasn't played any games with Tottenham since.
But, yeah, I know, it's mad. So, do you want to keep him in flop?
I think mid, probably mid signing. At the end of the day, he was an 33, 34-year-old player who we signed on a free, and when he was playing wing back, he wasn't particularly great, I think. But he did get a lot of assists, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did get a lot of assists even when he was bad. And then obviously when he started the season under Ange, he was looking quite good. And he was a super sub at times, and obviously then picked up the ACL. We never saw him again. Now since then, he's gone to PSG. Sorry, he had a bit of a spell at Zagreb, not PSG, PSV. He had a bit of a spell at Zagreb.
No, Hajduk Split.
Sorry, Hajduk Split, and was good. And then went to...
He actually didn't get on the pitch that much. I mean, he fell out with them over there, and he was like, he just wanted out of the club. It was a very strange period. All
I remember is I think on his debut he scored. I remember that.
On his debut,
and then I thought he was looking quite good. And then obviously he's gone to PSV, and as well at international level, he's looking like back to his best. So he's really recovered from that ACL. But can we include that in our analysis of how good of a signing he was for Tottenham? No. Probably not. I don't think he was a flop, but I also think...
Why did we put him in flop then?
Have to watch our video back why we did. Probably because he was old, and let's be honest, he kind of needed upgrading as a wing back at the time.
8
and he got
assists in
his
first season.
ACL, got that ACL, and then at that
I
point
guess
we
we
let him
were expecting more from him straight from the off, and when Ange did come in, we did see kind of more value, but it was only a short sample size because he got injured very quickly. So I guess mid signing.
Yeah, I guess we'll put him mid.
Next up is Arnaut Danjuma. Never really got a fair crack of the whip, let's be real. Came in under Conte. Conte didn't fancy him, and we rarely saw him.
Mm-hmm. Did score a couple of goals, didn't he, against Preston and against Bournemouth?
Yeah,
I remember in the little time we saw him, but I don't think he was bad. But
he played 9 games. For us.
Even in those, I was saying those 9 games, little minutes. I think a lot of them. So call him a flop. I think he was a flop because he didn't really play, and I don't think Conte wanted him.
Yeah, and that just shows misalignment between maybe Fabio, the board, and Antonio Conte at the time. So, and Danjuma goes into flop. Next up is Pedro Porro. He's had a fairly good time of it at Spurs. Obviously, when he first came in, he struggled massively. Last season, I thought he was brilliant for the most part. This season, he has had his struggles. He's been overplayed massively. And I think when you're looking at him I think he had a better season last year than what he had this season, which I think is fair to say.
Yeah, but as well, we were thinking about it, weren't we? Was it yesterday? And we were thinking, how many better right backs are there currently in the Premier League than Pedro Porro? We were struggling to find any, apart from Trent, who's on his way out. So, yeah, how can you sign one of the best signings? How can we have the best right back potentially in the league and say he's not a star signing? You know what I mean? It's difficult, but when you watch his performances, can you say he's been a star player? I think it's fair to say he's been good. I don't think anyone can say he's not been good. He's been rubbish or anything like that. He's definitely been a good signing. In terms of his performances, has he been a star signing? I think
I would put him in solid signing.
But we're saying we've signed potentially the best right back in the league, and he's only a solid signing. Who's better?
I think on quality, but maybe not on performances this season.
Yeah, but in terms of Paratici making a signing like that, like he has signed someone who's become one of the best right backs in the league.
I think who's got maybe potential to be one of the best right backs in the league. I think this season, I don't think his performances warrant, being called one of the best.
Who's better?
On current form, on who's actually playing well at the moment.
Who would you take over Porro?
It's not about who I would take over Porro.
It is because we're ranking his signings, right?
Yeah.
So he's brought these players to the club. How good of a player is this player?
Yeah, but certain right backs are potentially playing better than him right now, but maybe are not a better player than him right now.
Right, but if we're saying he signed someone,
maybe if you're picking a team tomorrow, you might pick this player, but if you want a player for the long term, you might pick Porro.
So who are you talking about?
I'd have to go through some players, but I think Ben White probably has been better than him over probably the last 12 months. I need to look back at other right backs, but I'm sure there have been quite a few. I think we did speak about Ole Einar, and I think Ole Einar has had a better season than him, but I wouldn't want Ole Einar over Porro, but I think this season he has been better. That's reality to say that. You got to look at maybe a Livramento. I don't know. Has he been better than Pedro Porro this season?
I think he's been great, Livramento, this season. My point being is we're judging how good he is at like signing players, right?
Yeah.
And he signed a player who's, in our opinion, has become, in terms of quality, one of the best right backs in the league. So it's harsh how you judge this tier list, but in terms of the quality of the player, it should be kind of like a star signing in that sense. If that's what we believe, that he's one of the best right backs in the league, you know what I mean?
We believe it because we believe he has the quality, but I don't think he's shown it though.
We wouldn't believe he hadn't shown it.
We know the attributes that he has. Like if you go and ask maybe fans outside of Tottenham and outside of us, would they call him a star signing?
Yeah, but we're going on obviously we're going on form when Tottenham had a really poor season and things like that. But if we're just judging him on the player, he's brought this player to the club for 40 million, right? And now he's starting for Spain. He's a real quality player that a lot of managers would take. So, from that point of view, he's a really good signing.
Yeah, so he's a solid signing.
Is Solid really good? Is that not Star? I don't know.
Star, it depends how you define.
He's a starter.
Star
He's one of the best
define
right backs in the league.
signing. I think Star just needs to be as like a special player. I think Porro maybe can become that, but I just don't think he's that just yet.
But he's 25.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, we can put him in Solid, but I think you're okay. We'll put him in Solid.
What?
I just think if he's that good and Paratici signed him, I think that's a real quality signing. And it's like that means he's done really great in recruitment because he's got a player who we think is potentially one of the best right backs in the league.
I think, leave that on the back burner for now. Let's see what other caliber gets into solid signing, and then maybe we can readjust it. Because I want to know what kind of players get into this solid signing, because I do think he's got star quality, Pedro Porro. I do believe that. I just feel like this season he hasn't been great. But then again, I do feel it's more of the system than the player. So I'm kind of conflicted between star and solid signing with this one. But let's move on and see how we go. Maybe Pedro we can bump him up. But next up is Jed Spence. I think Jed Spence goes into solid signing.
Amazing what a few months can do. But yeah, I think he's been great over the last few months. So can't really put him in star signing. If you ask this question, probably in November, probably get a different answer. But we're here in April or March, late March. So yeah, go into solid signing because I think he's shown what he can do.
Yeah. So Jed Spence goes into solid signing. Next up is Destiny Udogie. Again, I think that maybe at some point last season we probably would have put him in star signing, but I think that injuries have hampered him. Performances haven't really got back to consistently those heights, so I think he also goes into solid signing.
Again, how many left backs are we saying are better than him in the league? I guess maybe a few more for Udogie.
I think.
I mean,
Jed Spence sometimes plays at left back ahead of him.
Yeah, but that's because first of all, Spence is in great form. He doesn't deserve to lose his place, and second of all, he is recovering from injury. Like he had a serious injury at the back end of last season. He had a hamstring injury in December, ruled him out for a couple of months. So that's probably why. I don't think that's anything to do with how good he is. I just think Spence has been that good. He deserves to keep his place.
I think you're looking at, there are quite a few left backs I think that are better than him and performing better than him this season anyway. You've got to look at Milos Kerkez. I mean, he's been performing better than him. I think even a Mark Cucurella's probably been performing better than him. Who else?
Skelly, I guess.
Yeah, Lewis Skelly. He's been performing better than him. Sometimes Timber plays there. I think he performed better than him.
Lewis Hall, maybe?
Yeah, him as well. I mean, there's quite a few. Let's be real. So,
okay.
Look,
so we're not saying he's... Okay, so we'll put him in solid signing.
Because I think you've got to go on what you've seen. And we haven't... Let's be real, like, with Destiny Udogie, the start of last season, he was brilliant. But since that start, since he got that injury, we haven't really seen that level from Udogie since then.
That's fair. Not enough anyway. But yeah, he's had some injuries and he's still young. But yeah, I agree. It's true.
He's young, right? He's young and he's got... we could redo this tier list in a year's time and he could be back into star signing, you know what I mean? Like, these are very, like, interchangeable and movable situations.
But it's like, are we judging players? But it's kind of like, there's this tier list. Are we judging players, how good are they on current form? Or are we judging them, how good of a signing are they? How good of a player are they?
How good they've been for us.
How good they've been. But then is it too much recency bias? Like, how good form the team has been in?
I think you've got to judge it on their whole time at Spurs.
Okay.
Do you not agree?
Solid signing, yeah.
Next up is Yves Bissouma, and you know where I'm going to put him. I want to hear your argument.
I'll call him a mid-signing.
Mid?
Yeah, mid-signing.
Nah,
that's what I'll call him.
Flop.
I'll call him mid-signing.
He's got to be a flop. He's been nowhere near the levels of what we expected from an Yves Bissouma. We expected him to run our midfield. He expected him to be that big signing for us in midfield, and he's been a massive, massive disappointment for me. Don't get me wrong. He's had
mid-signing is a massive disappointment.
Mid-signing is like meh, but he's been worse than that. He's been way worse than that. Like, Look, like with Fraser Forster mid, like he's come in as a backup keeper. He's done what kind of expected. Perisic was like an old signing, didn't really reach the heights, but it's not like with Perisic we got like upset and angry with his performances because they were so poor. Bissouma, he has been, I think when you take his whole tenure at Spurs, it's been shocking, really, apart from a few periods here and there. I think Bissouma's been a massive flop, in my opinion.
I think he's been a massive disappointment. I'll just call him mid-signing because he has had a lot of good games and he has had periods where he's been good. And he's been disappointing. Obviously, we did get him, 25 million because he had a year left on his contract. So we got quite a decent deal for him in that respect in terms of what his stock was at the time. And even there's been games, obviously he's been bad, especially recent last couple of months he's been terrible. But even this season, beginning of the season he was playing quite well. He had spells where he was quite good. Obviously last season he had spells where he was playing quite good. I don't think it's been all bad, but as a general picture, it's been a massive disappointment for sure because we wanted him to be one of the best midfielders in the league. That's what we were hoping he was going to grow into, but it never happened like that. But I don't think it's going to Ndombele situation where we're going to let him go on a free. I think there will be clubs in for him because I don't think he's been as bad as that. Like I think he's been okay, but okay is not good enough.
No, I agree. He's not been an Ndombele level flop, and he has had like good spurts here and there. But the reality is he's been that bad that the manager has lost faith and trust in him. And if that happens, then surely you're a flop.
Fair enough. It's a good argument.
Yeah, like how can you not agree with that?
I said fair enough.
Next up is Richarlison. Look, massively hampered by injuries. And I think the injuries is probably our biggest gripe with him. That's the reality. Whether that's fault of his own, the medical team, whoever that may be. He hasn't been, obviously, a star signing. When he's been on the pitch, he's been a solid signing. But because of the amount of time he's been on the pitch, I would say he's a mid-signing.
I mean, it's a case for flop because we spent 60 million on him.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean? That was a big outlay for us. That's one of our top ever signings. And the reality is he just hasn't been fit enough. I know he's been decent when he's been on the pitch, but it's just been few and far between. And to be fair, especially in the first season when he was on the pitch, he was awful. Second season under Ange, it took him quite a while to get into that season, even though he had a few injury problems. So has he been... but he has had some good spells, and he has, especially over the last, I would say, year, like when he's been on the pitch, he has scored fairly consistently, but how many games has he actually played? Yeah,
that's the thing, because the reason I just want to put him in mid-signing is just because when he's on the pitch, he actually does well for us. That's the thing.
But considering the outlay...
No, I get that, and... Yeah, I get that, and I think that does massively go against him. But I'm looking at those players in flops, and I think he has been a level above those in terms of performance.
All right, we'll put him in mid-signing then.
So Richarlison goes into mid. Cuti Romero. I want to put him in star signing. I think he's been brilliant for us. If you look at the whole picture, he has. Again, I think we haven't been able to get him on the pitch as much as we would have liked. I think he's averaging 20 games a season or something, 22 games a season. Let us down quite a bit at the beginning of this season, but probably judging on quality from what we've seen, he probably goes into star signing, but I still have been expecting a bit more from him.
Well, if we're using the Porro rule, he goes into solid signing, doesn't he? I don't know. And this is what I mean, but the fact is...
Do you not think Romero's been better than Porro?
Maybe a bit. I think at times, it's not that... I don't think it's a massive difference, to be honest. But
I think, when Porro doesn't play, you feel it a lot more than when Romero... I mean, when Romero doesn't play, you feel it a lot more than when Porro doesn't play.
That's true. I think that's true. But I think, again, I would say if I'm judging it on a signing, how good of a signing has he brought to the club? Like Paratici's brought, for me, one of the best centre-backs in the league. On the international stage, he's incredible. I think for us, he's been really good by and large, but... He has had spells like beginning of last season as well. You've got to remember, that second season under Conte, he was not great for a lot of that season, to be honest. And it culminated him getting sent off in that game against AC Milan.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of talks about his future even then. But I just think we know what a great centre-back is, and I think it's the proof's in the pudding in terms of if we do sell him, we're probably going to make close to double our money. We're going to get a big profit on him, and that goes to show what a good signing he is. So I would say he's a star signing because for me, we have one of the best centre backs in the league. But in terms of purely on performance, how good he's been for us, it's hard to say he's definitely been a star signing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, again, it is a bit similar to Porro in that sense when you know the attributes that he has, you know the quality that he has. But maybe it just goes to show the shit show that Spurs have been, that we've not been able to get the best level of performances out of these guys just because of the state of the team and the mishmash of everything going on around the club.
Yeah. So, but again, I just feel like we're judging these players how good of our signings they've been, judged on how good. We're basically judging it a lot on how good the team's been rather than them in a lot of the sense.
Not really, because I mean Romero. We're talking about Romero's individual performances here as well.
I know, but a lot of it's from the team. I guess. But all right, we'll go into solid signing. I guess.
All right, solid signing.
We're going to put anyone in star signing then.
Next up, Galini.
Great timing. I think he's a flop, unfortunately.
Yeah, flop. Not much to say about Galini. He came in as a backup keeper. When he got his chances, I think he didn't do great, did he?
No.
And flop. Next up
Flop.
is Decky. Now, Decky's an interesting one because when he first came in, he hit the ground running. He was brilliant for those 6 months when it got us Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
After that, he kind of flattered to deceive a little bit. Last season wasn't that great. Season before was okay, not that great. But then position change has made him probably one of, if not our best player this season for the most part anyway. So you're looking at 2 unbelievable seasons from him and then 2 like kind of average seasons from him. But I think I think I'd put him in star signing.
Yeah, I think in terms of we've got a player who's in certain circumstances a bit of a cheat code. His strength, the physicality he has in the centre of the park for a number 10 is something you don't see that often. His ability to do what he can do in when he plays in that number 10 is very unique. And so from that point of view, he's a quality player. And he's been very consistent for this season. He's been absolute quality. But again, if has he been more consistently better than Porro or Romero over his whole tenure at Tottenham? I mean, he was brilliant for those 6 months. The last 2 seasons, I think he was. The second season under Conte was pretty bad, but he was still pretty good in some games. I think the last season was a bit better, but still a lot of people were questioning him. This season's been brilliant up until probably January time, and then he's been a bit off the boil since then, and then now he's got injured.
I think the biggest disappointment was probably the second season under Conte, because I feel like the first season under Ange, he was never suited to that role that he was playing in, where the role that Conte was playing, and we've seen he can do that role. We've seen he can do it to a high level. So that was the biggest disappointment for me. I think by the end of last season, everyone knew that's not the role. That's not his role. He can't get the best out of him. But ever since he's moved into a role that suits him, I think he's done very well. So I think a lot of circumstances go into Kulusevski. Whereas Porro and Romero, they've pretty much been playing the same role ever since they've been here.
Yeah, slightly. I mean, obviously wing back and centre back is a bit different.
True.
But I understand that. But
Porro wasn't playing wing back for very long though.
We played for 6 months. Yeah. I'm just saying, if we're using the same basis of how we've been judging it, but again, I feel like it's just based off a lot of his recent form. If we did this in January, we were saying star signing. Now it's like because he's had a month or so, 6 weeks off the boil, all of a sudden it's like, is he now just a solid signing? But I would say he's star signing because I think he's absolute quality. And
he's shown his quality as well.
Yeah, but so have Porro and Romero.
I don't think as much as Decky though. Do you not agree with that?
Not necessarily.
You think what? You think who do you think reckons shown the most quality out of those 3 players?
I don't know about who's shown the most. I think they've all shown a lot. Is my point. I mean, I don't know how you'd quantify. You have to go see who's played more good games. But yeah, I'd like to put him in star signing. But I think I'm just saying, if we're judging it based off how we've judged the other players, I think it probably goes into solid again.
I think we need a kind of tier between star signing and solid signing, and Porro and Romero would go there. because I feel like they've been better signings right up until this point than Spence and Udogie. And I think Kulusevski has probably been... I think Kulusevski's been a better signing from what he's shown in the Spurs shirt than Porro and Romero. But all three of them are out-and-out starters for us and will start every week, and we know the quality that they have. So maybe all three should go into star signing with the quality of player where we're putting them in.
It depends what we're judging on. Is it quality of player or how good they've been for us? It's just what we're judging it on.
I think everything needs to be taken into account, doesn't it?
Go on, we'll put them in star signing. We'll put all three of them. Yeah, why not? I'm up for it.
Pape Matar up next. I think he goes into solid signing.
Yeah, agreed.
He's been fairly good for us, fairly consistent. This year, I think a little bit of a backstep from last season. You got to remember as well, second half of last season after he come back from the AFCON, didn't really get back to those levels that he showed in the first half of the season, but very young, got a high ceiling, and I think he will continually get better.
Yeah, potential to grow. I think he could potentially be a bit of a star, but at the moment, at the level he's at, which is good level, don't get me wrong, but he's still not one of the best centre mids in the league or anything like that right now. So put him in solid signing, I think it's fair.
Rodrigo Bentancur up next. I mean, signed him with Kulusevski. I think straight away, I think he performed fairly well in the middle of the park for Conte, and I think he just gradually kept getting better and better and better until we saw the best from Bentancur week in, week out. And unfortunately, he got that big injury in that moment. And ever since then, it's just been like stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. Never-ending problems with injuries, concussion, bans, all this kind of stuff, which has, been poor. And he's just struggled to get back to his consistent best or close to his best since coming back. We have seen some decent performances, but we've also seen some absolutely horrific performances from him. So I want to say solid signing.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think you can call him a star signing because I don't think you can call Bentancur right now.
I wasn't even thinking of star signing. I was thinking
mid?
Solid or mid.
Really?
I think solid.
No, mid's harsh. I think he's better than mid. But because I think of how good he was before his injury, which proves what a good player he is. But unfortunately, the injury has hampered him, and that's no fault of his own, and no fault of anyone. It's just something that happened, and since then, let's be honest, it has been inconsistent. I think, and no denying that. But I don't think that goes to the quality of signing. But you can't really call him a star signing when he's performing that inconsistently right now. I'm hopeful he'll get better, and if he can get back to the level he was, he'll go into star signing. If we did this tier just before his ACL, he probably would have been a star signing.
Yeah, it's a long time ago now. Though,
it is a long time ago, but that's, again, I don't think it's to do with the quality of player he is. It's just the circumstances around it. But I think solid is fair.
And next up is Emerson Royale.
It's Barry doing the list, isn't
it? Look, he's been clowned upon a lot at Spurs. Obviously, Spurs fans were desperate to get him out. Yeah, I think you've got to put him in flop.
Yeah, flop, unfortunately. I think he had his moments, Emerson, but never really good enough for Tottenham or the Premier League. Apparently AC Milan want him out now, I'm hearing.
Yeah. Apparently they've wanted him out for a while.
Technically limited, unfortunately for him. Never wasn't a great, especially to sign him as a wing-back was a terrible decision.
Yeah.
Playing under Ange was not suited to it. He did, but he just never really was great for Ange in that system. Yeah, flop.
And last but not least, Bryan Gil Messi. One of the worst transfers I think we've done in recent history. Just when you look at the deal, like Eric Lamela plus 20 million for Bryan Gil was just madness. We thought we were getting Spain's next best star, and you know what? In Spain he does well, but in the Premier League he's just not suited to it. I like his kind of attitude and energy, but he's just too lightweight, and he's got to go and flop. Yeah,
I completely agree. It was an awful signing, awful recruitment, because I think a lot of people are looking at some of the skills he has and his nimbleness and thinking, oh, this could be a good player, but didn't take into account that he just wasn't going to have the physicality for the Premier League, and it proved no manager trusted him. When he did get on the pitch, he flattered to deceive a lot of the time. So it was a massive flop, and the deal, especially with the deal we did as well. So it's a flop.
Yeah, so let's have a look at this tier list, and has Paratici actually done as well as maybe people are making out? Because there's 6 flop signings there with Longley, Danjuma, Hill, Emerson, Bissouma and Galini.
6 out of 16.
6 out of 16. In mid, you got Fraser, you got Perisic, you got Richarlison. Out of those players, you got to say like 1, 2, 3, 4 of them were actually come in for short-term signings though.
Which ones? Perisic and Forster.
Perisic, Forster, Longley, and Danjuma. They were all like short-term signings, weren't they?
Yeah, and Galini, I guess maybe potentially.
I think Galini was actually. I mean, we signed him, didn't we? He wasn't alone. We thought he was going to be here for a while to be the backup, and he just didn't work out like that. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll put him in short term, but I think 4 of those signings are actually just like short-term stopgaps, weren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Doesn't. I mean, you still need to be good, but they were only short-term stopgaps.
But when you bring in short-term stopgaps, it is very hard to get like very good short-term stopgaps.
Yeah, but you bring them in because you want this bigger impact.
Yeah, of course. In terms of star signing and solid signings, I think all of them have, a lot of quality. From Kulusevski, Porro, Romero, Spence, Udogie, Sarr, and Bentancur, and the majority of those we hope could be here for years to come.
And all 7 of those are pretty good.
Because this is like the initial rebuild, right? When Spurs started rebuilding the squad, and out of all those lists, you probably say that we hope. Obviously, Romero's future's up in the air at the moment, but we hope that Romero, Porro, Decky, Spence, Udogie, Sarr, and potentially Bentancur, but he is, in his late 20s now, that will be here for many years to come.
And how much
and keep getting better.
How much did those 7 players cost in all? It was like you got 45 for Romero, you got 40 for Porro, 25 for Decky?
Something like that, yeah.
It was about 20 for Bentancur. It was about 10 for Sarr, was it?
About 15, I think it was.
15 for Sarr. Udogie was fairly cheap. Another 15. Spence was also about 15. So you're talking about 160 million for those 7. That's not bad. Something like that.
And if we're judging it towards like Johan Lang and his what he's done, the players that we put in solid and star were Bergvall, Solanke, Kinski, and Danso. I mean, the level of that player is so much better, isn't it?
That's true. That's true. Obviously, he's had a bit longer Paratici, but that's fair. I think there's a lot more there for Paratici to judge on, and Bergvall and Lange's ones are a lot younger.
Yeah, that's
a lot younger.
True.
So they're going to take a lot longer to develop. These guys are a bit more ready-made. Even players like Udogie and Sarr had to take a year to kind of develop. They had to go on loans and stuff. But yeah, I agree. Players like Kulusevski, Porro, Romero, Bentancur is kind of the one. He's kind of like a player that's ready-made, can just slot into that midfield. We just haven't made those kind of signings under Lange, to be honest. The only one is kind of like Solanke.
Yeah. So make of it what you will, people. Judging by that tier list, would you like to see Fabio return to the club, or are you happy with Johan Lang's business, and would you like to see him continue? Let us know in the comment section below. But like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
come on, you Spurs.